Toronto Blue Jay fans have been waiting forever for Nate Pearson to reach stardom or to even reach the big leagues. He's finally healthy. He's finally found his role in the major leagues, and he is turning into a superstar in front of our eyes. So we'll break that down and much more on this episode of Jay's Digest. What's up, Jays fans? I'm your host, Peter Vryonis, alongside host Nick Gosse. And the off day yesterday gave the Blue Jays a little bit of time to reset, gave their bullpen an extra day of rest as well. And now they're getting geared up for a big four
I
game
believe three.
series against the Baltimore. Yeah, so 3 game series against the Baltimore Orioles does not get any easier. They are in Camden Yards tonight, and it starts at 7 o'clock. But man, it's going to be a tough series. But this guy that we're going to talk about today is probably going to help lead them to someplace pretty special in the near future.
Yeah, and he's helped us a ton so far this season. And before we get into the video, make sure to hit the subscribe button. We're on the road to 7,500. And again, you guys have been killing it. We're almost there, so hit the button. And let's get into the video. And this video is going to be focusing on Nate Pearson and kind of his rise. We did a video, I think, a couple months back regarding Nate Pearson, but he has been unbelievable so far to start the season. And before we get into the analytics, I have some screenshots. Dan Shulman tweeted a couple days ago about his kind of rise. What have you seen from Nate Pearson? And I think that he has been one of the key. I don't know where we'd be without him in the bullpen because he has kind of been our long man in the sense of 1 to 2 innings, and he has been absolutely dominant. And he has quickly become a superstar in the Blue Jays, right?
It's just the confidence with him, and he never knew what his role was going to be. He hasn't been able to stay healthy. We saw some glimpses of it in the Dominican Summer League or the Mexican Winter League. I'm not sure what it was, but he was pitching absolutely unbelievably over there for the Toronto Blue Jays, and they shut him down after 10 innings just to kind of precautionary. And I think the startership has sailed, but look at Aaron Sanchez. He wasn't a starter until later on in his career, and he was absolutely phenomenal in that eighth inning role, in that setup role before Roberto Osuna. So I see something similar going down here with Nate Pearson. The fastball velocity is off the charts. The curveball is absolutely filthy, and his slider, I think, has actually been his best pitch in his 22 innings that he's had with the Blue Jays. And the big concern with him was his walk rate coming up to the big leagues, and he hasn't been able to limit that. But ever since he did get called up by the Toronto Blue Jays, he's got only 3 walks in 22 innings and 5 walks if you do count the 2 intentional walks. So he's been unbelievable with his command. He's just been such a force in that bullpen, and he could do it all. Whether you want 2 innings out of him, whether you want him in the eighth inning, he's just as steady as they come this season.
Yeah, and people ask, do you think we'll let him start again? The answer is probably not. I think they're just gonna, maybe we'll let him start in the future. Who knows? But he found a role in the bullpen right now, and it's been absolutely unbelievable. And let's get into a couple of screenshots here. We'll get into his stats as well because he has had a phenomenal year, like we said. But Dan Shulman tweeted a couple days ago, Nate Pearson, 11 pitches at 99 miles per hour or higher, a 2 inning outing for the second time in 3 days, averaging just 13 pitches an outing, just 3 unintentional walks, like you said, in 22 innings this season. Next level. And he has the best, at least the best fastball in the on the team right now. From a velocity standpoint, you could argue, some people have better movement, but he has finally been able to kind of locate those secondary pitches, which is ultimately what he was unable to do as a starter. And if he was able to do that as a starter, we probably would have seen similar dominance to this, back in 2020 and when he initially came up, but he wasn't able to locate it. But maybe as a bullpen guy, he's able to be more focused and just able to air it out for 20 or 30 pitches.
Yeah, that's the thing. I'm sure he would be able to do this as a starter, but you want to keep him healthy, and that's the main goal that the Toronto Blue Jays have. So if you do stretch him out, and if he does go 5 innings every fifth day, can he sustain that over the course of a 162 game season? He hasn't been able to do that over the course of his pro career thus far. So I truly think that the bullpen role is perfect for him, and he's become a workhorse of sorts for the Blue Jays. And he does it all. Like I said before, he can go 2 innings. He can give you a high leverage seventh or eighth inning, and even the odd save opportunity if Jordan Romano is unavailable, I'd be very confident sending Nate Pearson out there in the ninth inning to go ahead and lock down that win for the Blue Jays.
He kind of has the aura of a future closer, and maybe he'll get the chance
Right.
to be it, but he has the stuff that a future closer has. And let's get into his stats this year. And we can also quickly touch on the rest of his career. But one thing I want to point out here, you can see under innings pitched, he's already pitched the most innings of any season in his career, and we're not very far into this season at all. And you can see here he's 4-0 with a 2.05 ERA with 16 games and 22 innings pitched. So he's going multiple innings. He's only given up, well, 5 walks, but again, 2 of those were intentional. His whip is unbelievable. His Ks per nine are very, very solid. And he's realistically in 2021, he wasn't awful. He obviously wasn't the guy that we expected him to be, but he's been very, very good since coming up this year. And looking at his baseball savant stats, this is what really jumps off the charts. And this was kind of, someone posted this on Twitter yesterday, but he averages 98 miles per hour in his fastball. And that seems to be increasing with every outing. He's touched 101.5 or something the other day. Great slider, like you said. And looking at the, the stuff over there, he throws hard, so he's going to get hit hard when he does get hit. But he does not get hit very often at all with a 96 percentile velocity. All red. All good stuff. Doesn't get barreled up.
Mhm.
And this means, usually, obviously, advanced analytics aren't everything, but that is very sustainable. And it definitely passes the eye test for Nate Pearson.
Coming into the year, Nick, we weren't sure if he was going to be able to crack the big league roster,
And he
and he
didn't.
ultimately
Yeah.
didn't. They went with Zach Pop, and that it was the right choice at the time. Zach Pop's got a little bit more experience. He's proven to be more durable over the course of his career. And then Zach Pop went down, and Nate Pearson came up, and then the whole conversation was, okay, is he going to go back down once Zach Pop is ready? Then the Anthony Bass fiasco happened. Then Adam Simber started underperforming. Now the current roster construction has Thomas Hatch on it, has Mitch White on it, and a couple of other guys that we don't really want to see appearing in games for the Blue Jays. So Nate Pearson is here to stay. He's not going back down to the minors. I don't even think that's a discussion in the Jays front office at the current moment in time. And he has transformed himself from someone who was coming into low leverage situations when he first got up to now being someone who the Jays rely upon once you get to the seventh, eighth, and ninth innings, and also someone that they're relying upon when the bullpen is in the jam and you need multiple inning outings. So I've been so impressed with whatever he's been able to provide for the Blue Jays. I do expect a bit of a slump, but this is something that is sustainable going forward for Nate Pearson because now he knows what the team expects out of him, and it's something that he can keep doing going forward because that stuff is not going anywhere. He's only 26 years old.
Yeah, he's in a unique situation where the Blue Jays, like you said, his role is kind of fluid. They either use him, they could use him for 2, maybe even 3 innings, or they could put him in the 8th inning. And I think he's further, and I think you'd agree, on the spectrum of going to high leverage situations rather than on the side of getting sent down for to the minors. And this was here, Thomas Hall, shout out to him. He said, day by day, Pearson looks like the premier bridge to reliever Eric Swanson and Jordan Romano. It has to feel amazing that Pearson has finally found his footing in the majors. And this is very, very important because Jimmy Garcia was that guy last year, and he's obviously struggling this year. And I'd even argue that Nate Pearson or definitely has a higher ceiling than Jimmy Garcia. And Jimmy Garcia was phenomenal last year, but we needed someone to cover that bridge because for a while there it was just Swanson and Romano, and Swanson's already getting, I'm not going to say overworked, but he's pitched a lot of innings. It's like something crazy, like 60 or 40% of his innings already compared to last year. But we needed someone like Nate Pearson or someone in the bullpen to step up. And with Zach Pop getting injured, it was Nate Pearson. And quick thing before we wrap up here, this is one of his recent outings. Just look at the velocity. Obviously, velocity isn't everything, but he can touch 101.5, which rounds up to 102 on the TV, and unbelievable job at him so far. Any final thoughts before we wrap up?
And we had a video yesterday on Michael Lorenzen. So let's say the Jays go out and acquire someone like that, someone who has a lot of experience in the major leagues and has proven to be a valuable contributor there, whether it be Lorenzen, whether it be someone else. And when Alec Manoah is ready to return, you got Chad Green coming back, you got Hyun-Jin Ryu coming back. So I think the pitching is going to be fine in the long run once we do get towards the end of the season. I still think the Jays need a couple of additions to make this team into a true contender. But I'm really happy with what they've gotten out of the pitching. And once you eliminate some of those names that you don't want to see on a daily basis, then man, it's things are looking good. Things are looking real good.
Yeah, it's gonna be a fun deadline. Make a couple of depth moves on the major league teams. We don't have much there right now, and I think we'll be good to go. But that'll wrap up the video. Thank you guys for the support, and hopefully the Jays can beat Baltimore tonight.